What's up, everybody? Welcome back to DMW Sports. I am excited today. I get to talk with one of my good friends, and specifically along the lines of basketball. Obviously, you've seen some of the basketball coverage I've had already to this point. Talk a little bit about the NBA Cup, which we will obviously get into a little bit more today as well. But I'm going to allow this to serve as a little bit of a primer for me getting to more of the basketball coverage as the season starts to heat up. There's the old adage about NBA season not necessarily beginning until Christmas, of course, even with the NBA Cup being a part of their early season slate. However, we do have some early season storylines. And as a result of these storylines, I wanted to call up a good friend of mine, a fellow Howard University alum, of which we did end up meeting there, of course, in DC. In my opinion, a very knowledgeable basketball fan and somebody that does break down the game on a consistent basis. You can find her at the Post Up column. She does work for the Daily Free Press. She also has the Multifaceted Show. This is KAILYN Smith. I am happy to introduce her today. Going to bring her on here. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. You give me too much credit, DMac.
No, not enough for everything that you certainly are working on. And look, as somebody that obviously has started this solo venture, I understand how kind of nerve wracking that part of it can be. So I definitely admire the hard work that you put in, and definitely enjoy hearing your opinion. So that's why you had to come on here. I want to first of all give you an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about your background. Obviously, as people may not know, of course, from the Bay Area, is a longtime Warriors fan. No, she is not one of the new Steph Curry people that just jumped on the bandwagon. Nah, she's been there from the beginning. So tell me about, obviously your basketball, livelihood, but also what you're doing, kind of covering the game and what you're working in today.
Thank you, thank you. For me, I still consider myself a fan first. I think that's how it always was for me before jumping into making it part of my career. But my first ever memory of anything basketball related was my dad took my cousins and I to a Harlem Globetrotters game or game event, whatever you want to call it.
Showcase. Yeah.
But I was mesmerized, not just because of the tricks, but I was like, I've never seen anything like this. I wasn't into basketball. I was very young. But I was also coming up when it was still like Ray Allen winding down, but like Rondo was in his prime, Braun was obviously in his prime and all that. Early Braun, of course.
Mhm.
But I was just really excited at what was going on. I could relate to it now, see what I saw on TV and make sense of it. So that was always something that I just wanted to carry with me, not just watching at home, but seeing if I could just incorporate it and be part of the story. And here I am now telling these stories. So again, like as you mentioned, I do, right? I have a column. Following my column, I was sports editor, but along the way, I got to cover the Final Four most recently. I've just covered a lot. It's kind of a blur, but things have just happened so fast. But like you did mention the multifaceted, that's where I first decided, yeah, I actually want to showcase what I think about basketball, how it makes me feel, especially off the court. I think that's also been more important to me than what I see on the court that showcase. So I'm with all the drama, I'm with the feel good stories where they come, things that make us like. I think that's what really gets us staying within basketball watching and not just the numbers because we see that all the time and we get bored with that. It's not satisfying. So I'm happy to just have the game that I love and fell in love with as a kid be part of my career now. It's been really rewarding.
That's awesome to hear. Look, I think it's great, and it's a great compliment specifically for those that do specialize in the ability to write about really any subject, but specifically, obviously, sports. Because if you are going to be a good writer, you have to tell a story, and you cannot tell the story of any sports without the human aspect of it. And I think that that is a great quality that has to continue to be preserved in this world, in this day and age. The ability to understand the humanity behind all of sports as well. And I think you do a great job of capturing it. And I definitely appreciate all those that are able to do it, especially in a long form aspect of it, because that is something that I have tried before and not necessarily succeeded at. And so I definitely appreciate those that can, as far as that is concerned. We are going to kind of go in a somewhere that is a little bit close to home now. Obviously, the Thunder did end up suffering their second loss of the season to the Spurs in those semifinal game. This is a pursuit that has been talked about a little bit in the early season as the Thunder have gotten off to the hot start that they have, obviously. Comes back to the aspect of the 2016 Warriors in their pursuit, ultimately and breaking of the 72 win, I should say, Chicago Bulls record to get that 73rd win. And ultimately, that season did not end the way that they may have wanted it to. However, there are parallels here for a team that kind of came a little bit up out of nowhere what they were able to develop, obviously led by star young guards and obviously MVP level guys. And we saw obviously what SGA was able to put together last year and what was an excellent season from him as well. Talk to me a little bit, kind of the Thunder standing. Do you think that they do have a chance to sustain this throughout the rest of the regular season and give a real pursuit of the record? And how do you feel about their chances as far as repeating is concerned?
Again, let me take the, I should say, gold colored
That's
glasses off. Um, I'm very impressed. Let me start there. I'm very impressed with what the Thunder has been able to do in recent years, and I think so much of that again goes to Sam Presti. Like, he knew ball. A lot of people are like, "Why you keep getting these picks? Why you keep getting? What happened?" Right? Cost them virtually nothing to assemble this team, which is very impressive. And again, I think they won 20 of the first 21 games this season. Like, just
Mhm.
off the rip, set the tone. Everyone was sweating. I'm not sweating, but for the most part, folks are very confident that they can again surpass this record, which I wouldn't be surprised by. Do I want it? No, but I wouldn't be surprised by it. I think they've worked for it, they've earned it. And again, to do it without Jalen Williams for most of the first part of the season, and deal with a lot of other injuries here and there, to still have that hustle and that competitive mentality again, steered by SGA, of course. Like my hat's off to them. But I think what makes it less exciting is that it's not unprecedented. We saw it 9 years ago going on 10, and it blew
Mhm.
everything out of the water again. Like how you mentioned earlier, I'm from the Bay. I went to Warriors games when Mark Jackson was preaching. Like, he would invite all the kids to sit in Oracle and listen to him preach after games. And it was just like, okay, like, this is interesting. I don't know if I'd experienced this at a different, I think the point is like, it was just real community that was so excited to see what Steph was building, alongside, Clay and everybody else. But just because like we had been losing for so long, and not to say that OKC wasn't before, but well, actually no, like they didn't experience the despair
Right.
that we experienced. Like, they had Katie at one point, they had Westbrook, they had like just all these people
It
to
came ready made. The second that they got the team, they got Kevin Durant. So that you at
right,
least come in with Kevin Durant at the beginning. Yeah, he was a little bit of lull when you trade him away with
right,
the Russ and PG stuff, but even then, it didn't get that bad. Like it was never what you had
never
with
that
the
bad. It was never
right.
despair. Like, you had something to hold you over. We, for the
Mhm,
most part, like we were crushed, after Monte. Like, we weren't able to get it done post we or during We Believe era. Like, it wasn't bigger than that. And then come 2013, 2014, we're like, oh my God, this is actually a real thing. And then, as you know, like 2015 going into 16, 73-9 happens. And it's just like no one saw this coming per se, just happened. But now, like, you guys are fresh off a championship in which you did so well, starting off really strong. And again, like, we're great either. We can't even win games when Steph is putting up like 40 at his big age. So it's just like, I don't know, just the Thunder, like, they have the tools that they need. I think it would be more exciting for even more casual fans if they didn't.
mhm.
I think the miracle was in something coming out of nothing for the Warriors, and that's not really the case for OKC.
Yeah, and I'm glad you talked about the story because I think it is that piece of how it happened with the Warriors, the meteoric rise. I think, for better or for worse, and this is as somebody that does think that SG is an excellent player. The brand of basketball that Steph Curry plays and the brand of basketball that SGA plays is perceived very differently in the fact that people loved everything that Steph was doing at the time and obviously has continued to do throughout his career. And people see SGA in a certain light against that. And for better or for worse, why that is, that does also play into that narrative as well. And the fact that this is more recent compared to what the Warriors were chasing, what was considered an immortal ghost, I should say, as far as that 72 win Bulls team. It's just everybody in the basketball consciousness kind of remembers everything that was during that 2015 2016 Warriors run as well. So it's a little bit different from that perspective. But all things considered, Thunder and the depth that they have built, because like you said, the Sam Presti acclamation of picks, even missing a guy like J Dub and just saying, hey, I've got four guys off the bench that I know I can make up for this because of how well this roster is stacked. And ultimately, Presti has built a team that, in my personal opinion, is, has the ability to be the next dynasty in the realm of the Warriors because for somehow Sam saw this apron stuff coming in which he was like, I'm going to stack every single pick necessary, have a cost control team, and be able to have depth continuously. And obviously, they are set up for long term success, even if they do fall short of that storied record from that perspective. But it's obviously a storyline, I should say, that we will be watching throughout as well. But it is not just them and the rest. In fact, it is incredibly competitive in the West. And I think that when you look at kind of what the main competitors have kind of emerged, I would say, to begin the season, obviously we've talked a little bit about Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs and what they were able to do during the NBA Cup, obviously getting to the semifinals and ultimately to the finals versus the Knicks. Obviously, Nikola Jokic, who still in many ways wears that crown as best in the world, supporting this Nuggets team that has remade the roster around him. And then, of course, the biggest offseason acquisition that did happen, Kevin Durant going to the Rockets, ultimately being able to stave off what just happened in the Fred VanVleet, injury to begin this season, but still playing at a high level, especially due to the defense that Ime has, been able to have throughout that entire roster. So, and obviously Sengun has come on for them and played very well throughout this season too. So, as far as you looking at the West, who do you think is the biggest challenger to the Thunder, emerging at the early season mark?
Yeah, I think going back to what I said about the NBA Cup in particular, yes, it's something to celebrate, but it doesn't necessarily say what's going to happen. I won't say rooting for. I'm not gonna throw my team under the bus like that, but I am really hoping that the Spurs something of this. I really would like to see them, if not us, which again I'm not going to be too high hopeful about, but I would like to see them come out of the conference. I just think they have all the pieces they need. Are all the pieces all healthy at the same time? No, which is unfortunate, and I, that needs to be dealt with if there's a preventative way to manage that. They're just really fascinating in the way they're composed. Like even Wemby aside, like you just gave Fox this huge, huge contract, but you still have Dylan Harper, you still have Stephon Castle, like, and you have really good rookies. So it's just, or rookies this year, not even just the ones you picked up from last year who are all contenders, but it's so impressive to me who they've been able to secure. I think, but on the other side of them being rookies, like some development needs to happen, which I don't foresee being secured over the next few years. But in the meantime, like I'm not gonna call him my son, but like I love Carter Bryant. I'm
Mhm.
so excited to see what his future looks like. So I don't know, like he just needs to improve his shooting some more, I think for sure. But he doesn't play about getting the ball back. Um, I don't know, like every player on that team has something of value to add. And I think they're all the pieces that are necessary to come out of this conference. But again, if they get too tired or they don't have the hustle that veterans would have, just again considering that most of them are rookies or younger, I would be concerned about that. Or even again the whole health and injury issue. But I could see something with them. As for the Nuggets, you don't really have to say anything about Jokic. Like what?
No, there's nothing more to say. He's amazing.
But Jamal Murray, like he still got it, and he's been hooping in recent weeks. And when I say hooping, I mean like multiple 30 balls a week, that kind of thing. I don't like. I don't think it will be easy for any team. I'm intentionally ignoring the Rockets right now. I can't. Don't need to talk about the Clippers either, but I'm
No,
sure
go
that might come up later. But they're so I don't know. It's just not. Yeah, I think short answer is I'm Clippers to come out. I think they have the most to say, but they do need to back it up by staying
ahead.
healthy and playing hard.
And then you do have that question ultimately of if you get into that playoff setting for a team that is as young as the Spurs certainly are, and even though
Mhm.
Vassell is impressed, obviously Castle has taken a step as well. You've gotten the Fox thing, and Harper has helped out as well. The backcourt is concerned. You got guys like Carter Bryant that can continue to get better over the back half of the schedule. You just wonder when it gets clutch, and I think you saw a little bit of it, not too much because again it wasn't their full complement of players, but you saw a little bit of it in the close to that cup game versus the Knicks, in which it felt like the Knicks were just they felt a little bit more, ready for that moment and being able to seal things down the stretch. So we do
Mhm.
obviously have that question, but I think that they have the element of being able to attack on both sides of the court that
Mhm.
really ultimately gives them a good chance. Though you're never going to count out Jokic, and obviously I love what the Rockets have done from a defensive standpoint, and KD gives them that. But it just
Right.
I do truly feel like the Rockets need a second option before I can take them seriously as that level of contender, in my personal opinion. But hey,
Mhm.
we will obviously see if that's able to be done by the deadline too. I'm interested to ask you this. So you mentioned obviously Fox's extension. I was somebody that was a Dylan Harper fan, and I was
Mhm.
certainly somebody that advocated for him, and I loved the fit for him in the Spurs. I thought that they could have maybe taken an opportunity to explore trade, and they may have done it for Fox once they knew that they could secure Harper. The question I have is, do you feel like Fox is going to be? I don't want to say it this way because I hate when people do this because it feels accelerating the timeline when it needs to. But I have a hard time seeing Fox being a part of whatever the title team is around Wemby. And so, do you feel the same about that, or do you think that this is realistic that Fox could be a part of that, kind of short term aspect of building that title team around him?
I think he has to for image purposes because if he isn't willing to be a team player, like hypothetically, that falls back on him because the Spurs did extend him this olive branch in the form of 220 something $1 million, I think.
Hmm.
When like to your point about Dylan Harper, like they didn't have to by any means, and you teams they will be stingy if they want. They will say sayonara even if it makes them look bad. They don't care. So I think it says a lot about how much they value him and how much they want him here. And I think that he felt that, which is why he was happy to do that. I don't think it was just about the dollar sign. And I think he very much knew, like, you are not the only person that can fill their needs in this position. Like they have the tools. They and again, not just skills wise, but again about age. Like, not to say that he's old by any means, but again, like the people who are just coming into the league who have a lot to play are coming for your spot. And again, I think it just says a lot about him if he isn't willing to one work with them, also mentor the younger players, the new kids on the block, and be again cordial. But I think that I have seen that
Hmm.
chemistry. Like he's I think we would know if he wasn't happy thus far. So I'm not concerned.
No, look, I don't think the mentoring aspect of it, because he has done a pretty good job of being able to hand things down from that standpoint. So
Yeah.
I'm less concerned about the mentoring aspect of it. I'm always concerned about a small guard getting closer to 30 that plays kind of the way that Fox does. But I will say, all things considered, he is playing in many ways the best basketball of his career to begin this season, and that goes a long way. And obviously, the investment has worked out to where they started off this season. So transitioning a little bit, and this next question will kind of include the Spurs in this aspect of these three stars. I think are kind of in interesting places. Wemby specifically is in, kind of the most advantageous in my personal opinion. Obviously, at the beginning of his career, and obviously, he's surrounded by a great organization, already having young talent around him. Anthony Edwards had the moment that he had kind of getting to the conference finals and ultimately falling short a few years ago with the Timberwolves, how that ultimately is going to look for them moving forward. And then, of course, Luka Doncic, who shockingly is a Los Angeles Laker, which honestly I still don't
Yeah.
feel like is crazy to say. Ultimately, it's just insane to think about. But what do you, if you had to guess between these three guys, who do you think has the best chance of being able to win a championship, specifically within their current team?
for this season, I think there's a quick answer. I don't think there's necessarily wrong answers. I'm inclined to say I think it's just tough because there's so much talent on the Spurs, like we just discussed. But even the Lakers, like I think so many vets, but also like the Austin Reeves and folks, like the folks who have the talent and are up and showing out every game. What does Austin have, like 28 on the season or something
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
that? So again, like LeBron is on his farewell tour for the most part. He wouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it. But that's like he has the wisdom and maturity, and I mean literal sense maturity, in experience terms around him that would get Luka to a ring. I could see. I don't want it to happen, but I could see it. So to answer your question, I lean Luka could be the best suited to get a championship out of these three. Sorry to love Ant the most out of these players. My problematic fave. But I would say probably in order, not by much. Luka, Wemby, Ant.
Yeah, and look, the reality of the situation is when you're a part of the Lakers, even if you don't necessarily get it done with the LeBron James in all intents and purposes, you always feel like you're never that far away from getting whatever the next star is that is necessary to build that the championship foundation and pairing as far as that's concerned. So
Right.
I completely understand that question. I think it's going to be fascinating as we get a little bit closer to the trade deadline. Are the Lakers going to try and move Austin Reeves? Because if you look at their team,
It
they
was
obviously
stupid.
I know, but if they try and push this thing in, and
Mhm.
they this is their best opportunity maybe to add defense that they badly need if they want to try and make a run. Do they feel that's necessary? I would understand if they did not, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna play this out. We understand that Luka is the future of the franchise. We're gonna continue roll with obviously LeBron and Reeves, and we're gonna see where this goes over the next few years and play it out accordingly." But I think Ant Man is obviously in a very interesting situation. Timberwolves a little bit shaky to start, but they're starting to pick it up. Obviously, we
Mhm.
talked about what Wemby and the Spurs will look like. I love watching Victor Wembanyama play because
Yes.
it's such a unique experience for somebody that changes the space, both the vertical and horizontal space of the floor in the way that he does, and it's just he's one of those players, and really all three of these players are awesome to watch. But he's just one of those players where you don't get to witness that in sports, like Shohei Ohtani or
Right.
whatever player that you want to insert there. It's just it's awesome to be able to watch on a night in night out basis for sure. Along those lines, let's go two more things as far as this aspect. Really quickly, we talked a little bit about kind of the Lakers as they currently stand with the LeBron Luka stuff. Obviously, in a very tough and competitive Western Conference, obviously we spoke about Austin Reeves averaging dang near 28 points per game, which is insane to think about, man.
Mhm.
How do you feel about their ceiling as far as the West is concerned?
I think the question is, or I guess maybe my question that I'll pose to you is, they can, but will they?
Hmm.
Like I could see them coming out. I could also very much see them making a first round exit. I think either situation would not surprise me because again, I think they have a lot of the tools with the exception of defense, which has been pretty horrendous. Other than that, like they do have what they need. Again, I think not just LeBron, but veteran leadership and also like talent in the mid career players, like the Lukas and whatnot. For you to have multiple superstars and like very solid up and coming emerging players all on one team, but still like those gaps, those areas of lack. If I cared about the Lakers, which I never will, I would be concerned. Um, like I would have palpable concern about how they fare, where they land. But I don't. So the short answer is I can't call it.
I don't blame you one bit. Like I think it's a fascinating thing of if you get into a playoff setting, can LeBron turn up his notch all the way to 10 as much as he can at this age, obviously, for to get them out of a series?
Yeah.
And how much can they raise their defensive floor? Can they make some moves on the margins that do not obviously include an Austin Reeves, but something to try and help from that perspective as far as a defensive rotation? Obviously, they talked about trying to give Vando more minutes just to try and get better defensive players on the floor because they feel that confident in what their offense can present. So what they end up tweaking, obviously, as it leads up to the trade deadline, is certainly going to be fascinating to try and raise their ceiling as well. So, with it, of course. I want to know which one of these are the cutest couple between Thompson and Meg. Got Angel and Carter Jr., and then we of course got AJ and Bam. I want to know which one of these couples you really love.
Yeah, I need to be very political. um, um, I love to see Black women in love, especially Black women athletes. Again, when they are told by right wing trolls all the time that they are too strong or look too masculine or deserve whatever harm happened to them. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm so glad to see Black women, especially in this space, being loved out loud. Meg in particular, super excited for her as a fan. But again, when they did that little soft launch with, I think Clay was in the background and they were at the pool or something, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just assuming it's like a doppelganger or something. Like, I promise you, DMac, I did not believe it at all. But, now they're like loud and proud about it, and I love it for them. I would say my favorite. It's just going to be Bam in Asia just because I think no shade to Wendell or anything. But I told you I had to be political. I need to say the right things about this one. I love Bam in Asia because what I was saying about like these Black women athletes who, especially the Asia being as tall as she is, I think she was subjected to like just a lot of, again, like a lot of hate from their right wing trolls. Same with Angel, but like to be, I don't, and they're both just so feminine and soft when like you hear them on interviews and whatnot. So for them to be able to just continue to be themselves, but also to be loved out loud by these literal NBA players, and it's not just like a, oh, like we both do the same thing. It's cool. Like it's cute. Let's flex and get, a magazine cover kind of thing. It's like you can see that they're actually into each other. Just nice that they have very similar schedules and commitments, but still make it work and still show up for each other. Again, I don't know these people by any means in real life. But I do see them loving on each other out loud and in public, and I love it for them. So I'm definitely partial towards Bambi Asia. Asia, I just love. She can do no wrong in my eyes. And I think I heard her Time interview the other day. She said, like, I think the interview asked her just what a quote that had been in her mind for a while. And her response was, nobody cares, work harder. And she was also talking about how her fourth MVP meant the most to her. So it's just like, this is a woman who works so hard. She puts all the time in. She goes crazy on the court, as we know, but also like she makes time for her relationship, and that's something that I can admire so much. And again, like Bam is not a nobody,
They
So
were both in Paris at the Olympics for good reason.
exactly that. So I mean, like, yes, it's iconic because of who they are separately, but I love who they are together, and I love that they can see so much in each other that we see about them. But they obviously get front row seats, so love it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I did say this and wanted to show it a little bit, but I think that it is cool when you see these kind of crossovers, and I am a WNBA fan as far as that's concerned, to see the best player in the world, Asia, continue to show up. Obviously, with Bam at NBA games, and Bam obviously give that love back as far as that is concerned. I love to see NBA players in a platonic sense, obviously supporting the WNBA in general, but obviously Bam and Asia being able to be together, I do find very particularly great. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I am a nerd, so I think there is a lot of nerd energy between Meg and Clay that I think works, and it's
Oh, for
very appealing to me. That I very
sure.
much, because Clay's a cornball, but I say that as a fellow cornball. I find that very, just great. I'm glad that they found each other.
Yeah,
Seems like it's working out for them, and that's awesome. So
yeah.
that was my fun question to be able to end this
Oh, I
off as
love
well.
that. It's like Clay is a literal sailor, and then Meg is like obsessed with the Sailor Moon kind of thing.
Yep,
Like they
this is
really are
perfect.
dorks, and I love it.
Absolutely, it works. It works so well to come together as well. And this is, no slight to like Donovan Mitchell and Coco Jones, which obviously,
Oh, yeah, yeah, no.
another great one as well. So with that being said, we can go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, we did dang near an hour of being able to talk about this, but like I said, I do want to have you on. Hopefully, as we get closer to the All Star break, to kind of have a mid season point to talk about this. And we will be talking about hopefully WNBA as we get closer to that.
Yes.
Absolutely great. Thank you once again for having for coming on, I should say. And we'll be talking a lot more basketball, in recent months to come. So thank you guys so much for